And if I go that way, I will die. Whoa! Welcome to Run with Steve, where today Steve is walking down a mountain and answering your questions about running from Instagram. And we're starting with what I think is a great question. And well, the answer to it is a little bit of a secret. Not every runner wants you to know. The question is, what percentage of a mountain run would you actually run? There is this perception that mountain runners run up and down every summit and hill, and you know, they can sprint up something like this like a goat. And the reality is it's a very, very, very small percentage of runners out during a typical mountain race could actually run up something like this. The majority of runners, they're going to be walking, maybe even hands and knees, or doing a fast hike. Now, as to what percentage of a mountain race is actually run, well, I would say at least 50%, because that makes sense. Think about it. What goes up must come down. So a sort of reasonable mountain runner running a race of say 10 miles, under 10 miles or something like that, they could reasonably expect to run all the descents. Now, once you got onto much longer distance and there's fatigue and stuff, that potentially could be a lower percentage. I know for me, at my best, when I was mountain running, I was maybe actually running, depending on the race, anywhere between, I'm now mentally thinking of all the mountain races I've done, I'd say up to 75% running, and then about 25% fast hiking. It varies massively depending on how steep the terrain is. If the terrain is staircase steep, pretty much everybody is fast hiking up that. If it's like, well, what this is now, that's more gentle slope, that's pretty steep. I was at the point where I could just kind of, wasn't fast, but I was able to just, quite slowly push up and run up terrain like this. So it varies massively depending on the terrain, your level of fitness. But for me, anywhere between 50 to 75%, depending on the race and how I'm feeling that day. All right, a few quick fire questions now. Is your bike punctured? No, my bike is not punctured. You're probably asking because I haven't had any cycling content on my main channel for a long time. It's not. I'm now focusing on my mountain running, so cycling is taking a back seat. I might get back into cycling or do some more cycling content maybe around September, October, I think. What is the one thing you don't compromise on when running? I'll tell you the first thing that came to mind. The first thing that came to mind was going to the toilet before I run. I am pretty regular, and the one mistake I have made on occasion is to jump out of the car and immediately head up to the hills without visiting the toilets. I regretted that several times. So honestly, that was the first thing that came to mind that I don't compromise on when I'm running. I mean, you could say stuff like, make sure you sleep well and, you're always improving. But honestly, that was the first thing that came to mind. Have you ever experimented with breathing techniques or nasal breathing / mouth tape? I think mouth tape is stupid. What does your mileage, and that's all you're going to get. What does your mileage per run? Actually, well, okay. Breathing techniques. I do have some breathing techniques when I'm running, actually. When I'm trying to cruise along and just get into the zone, I'm always trying to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. I find that just doing that, I've always done that. I think my dad told me to do that when I was younger. I don't know. I think I had no idea. My dad's not a runner or a sportsman in any means, but I can remember him telling me you should breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I've always done that when I'm getting in the zone. I always try to, if I'm in the zone, I try to have my mouth closed, or well, not closed, but not like, I'm always, I find doing that does help me kind of get into not a meditative state, but it does help me to focus. The mouth taping at night stuff, and the idea of mouth breathing making you stupid and all that, I think it's pseudoscience nonsense. And I'll leave you to argue about that in the comments. What does your mileage per run per week look like after a spell of not running? If I haven't run for a while, my weekly running mileage could be 0. It could be. I could go an entire month without running. Now, I'll be highly unlikely to go an entire month without doing some kind of exercise, either like a long hike or something like that. But yeah, I'm pretty inconsistent. I'm not very good at maintaining any kind of habit long term. It's just who I am. And I've kind of had to accept it. I can train for something for a block of maybe 3-4 months, but as to keeping up something consistently for years, can't do. That's actually one of the reasons I started this channel, to force me to be more consistent with my running, because I've committed to publishing a video a week. It means I know I'm gonna at least get out and run once a week. So yeah, my mileage when I am actually training could vary anywhere between 10 miles to 25, 30 at a push. I'm really not someone who does a lot of high mileage, but then I'm a pretty mediocre athlete. Is it better to start with road running even if you intend to do trails? No. Good question. The answer is no. And the reason I say no is because road running is the most boring form of running. And if you've never run before and you start with road running, you might get bored from the get-go. So I would say maybe don't jump straight to this. Go and find a little trail alongside a river. Go and find a gentle, forest track through the forest, somewhere flat and, not too bumpy underfoot, and train there. Find somewhere beautiful to train. And that includes actually, if you live somewhere that has really nice country roads, maybe you could go and run there that are quiet, but yeah, I think starting an actual, if you want a trail run, we can trim this bit. If you want a trail run, start on trails. Just start on more gentle trails. Do you do park runs? If not, why not? If not, you should. I have done park runs. I haven't done park run for quite a long time. The reason I haven't done park run for quite a long time is park run is really bad for my fitness. Yep. Actually, yeah. And the reason park run's really bad for my fitness is I mostly run on my own. Park run is with a lot of people, and when I'm with a lot of people, I suddenly get competitive. And also because I've done a lot of much longer runs. The longest run I've ever done is 40 miles. A typical run for me would be a 5K absolute minimum. So when I turn up to do park run, to me it's a short, easy run. So I go flat out. I go flat to the mat as hard as I can go around the 5K course. And what that means is I end up either injuring myself, I end up absolutely exhausting myself, so I feel horrendous the rest of Saturday and don't get anything done. And it affects my fitness because it means that I then don't get out and do the longer run that I would normally do on a Saturday. So that's why I don't do park run very often, although I think park run is amazing, absolutely brilliant. And if you're wanting to get into running and you don't want to start on roads, go find your local park run, start walking around it and build up to a run. I know quite a few people have learned running that way. Oh, look at this. This is nice. This is known as Spalak. And if I go that way, I will die because there's a cliff there. I think I'm going that way. I think. Right, 2 more questions. Would you ever start a running club to run in the mornings? Just an introduction to trail running. A running club to run in the mornings would not be an introduction to trail running, as I think my previous question has answered. This is the last place I would take somebody who was just starting to trail run. Now, I would take them to way over there, which is Tullymore Forest, but I wouldn't take them up into the mountains. That aside, would I ever start a running club? I am the last person on this earth who should be in charge of organizing other people. I'm incredibly disorganized myself. As I said, I hate schedules. Well, it's not I hate schedules, I hate regular schedules. Anything that would tie me down to a particular date, a particular time, and obligations with other people, I always end up resenting it over time. It's just the way I'm wired. So I like the idea of me bringing out a band of people into the hills, but the reality of it is it probably wouldn't be a good idea. Plus, again, if it was beginner trail running, arguably if I was doing that, I should have mountain leader training, especially if it's, if it's strangers. If a group of friends, that's different. But if you're going to start taking people out, you really should have mountain leader training, and you should have insurance and stuff like that. And it's just I've enough going on. So like the idea, it wouldn't be practical. Right, last question then is doing the walk to knock 6 weeks, next week, 6 days back to back, 130 miles. Any advice? Right. Multi-day hikes. Well, I'll tell you what not to do. Do not neglect foot care. This is me speaking from my experience on the West Highland Way last year. Single biggest mistake I made was I neglected my foot care. I let my feet get wet. I didn't change my socks soon enough. I didn't use the right kind of treatments or creams on my feet to prevent blisters. And I made a mistake on the very first day that meant that I ended up walking for about 40 miles on a severely blistered foot, and it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Beyond horrible. So take your foot care incredibly seriously. Currently, I'd recommend using a product called Trail Skin. They've got 3 different products. They've got an anti-chafe cream. You put that on your feet, it'll stop blisters in sort of normal conditions. They've got a trench foot cream. So if you're going to be hiking and you're going to have wet feet all day, use the trench foot cream. It forms a moisture-proof barrier that stops your skin absorbing water, swelling up, and then causing all kinds of pains and aches. I'm not actually sure where I'm going here. I need to get down there. I need to make sure I don't actually accidentally walk down a cliff. Yeah, and also, aside from that, bring tape with you. There's various types of tape you can get, like moleskin or zinc tape. So as soon as you get a hot spot, you tape it up. And bring more socks than you think you'll need. I stupidly brought 3 pairs of socks, thinking that I would be able to dry them in between. It ended up raining for half the time. Whoa! I'm okay. And always watch where you put in your feet. It ended up raining for half the time I was out. So I had very painful, wet feet that blistered up. So that would be my number 1 advice for multi-day. The other thing would be start as early as you can and take nice long breaks. If you're walking, I think his distance could be like 20 miles a day. 20 miles a day is tough, and it's tough over multiple days, but you can do it. Break it up. Take breaks, start early in the morning, go out walk for 3 hours and take a long break. Split it up. I have a habit of just pushing on and wanting to get it done and not taking breaks, not resting properly, and that did me no favors. I think I'm supposed to be over here. I'm supposed to be here. Take breaks, space it out. Don't carry any more food than you need to. Research the route in advance, find out where the shops are, where you might be able to resupply. Check the times they open. I made that mistake, arriving down at a shop at 8 o'clock in the morning, hoping I was going to get food, and then it turned out it didn't open to 10, and then I decided, do I lose 2 hours waiting here, or do I just keep going? In the end, I just kept going. I probably should have waited, and ended up kind of a little bit hungry. So yeah, that would be my advice for doing a multi-day. You didn't actually mention if you're walking it or running it. If you're running it, and you haven't done that kind of distance before, run very, very little of it. I thought I was going to run a lot of the West Highland Way. In the end, I probably ran maybe a quarter at the most, until my legs just started to feel really fatigued, so you'll not be able to run as much as you think. Right, that's all the questions answered. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have more questions, ask them in the comments and I'll do another video like this answering your questions. But I'm going to put this away because I've got quite a slippy, slidey descent to get all the way down there, and I do not want to lose my footing and land on my head and die, because then you would not be getting this amazing information.